Hi, everyone. My name is Ileana Villapudua. My partner's name is Jasmine Rodriguez. Um, she made the slides, and I will be narrating the presentation. Um, so this is a mini presentation on how to use the grant writing resource, the drive that has been shared with you if you're watching this presentation. If you're watching this presentation, it means that you have started the grant writing process for the San Fernando Valley Refugee Children's Center. Like I mentioned, this presentation is just going to be a quick little how to use the grant writing resource that drive that we made. So this is what I'm going to be talking about throughout the course of this presentation. I'm going to give a little introduction into why we made this resource and what exactly is going to be in it. And then I'm going to give you a little blurbs on each of the tabs and the files that we have and what kind of information you'll find under each tab in the drive. So first, we created this Google Drive to be an easy to use and easily accessible kind of training manual into how to write grants or how to apply for grants under the RCC, under the name of the organization. We wanted it to be a stress-free way of learning and gathering information and using the information that we provide in the drive to apply for the grants. So in the first tab you'll find in the drive, it's labeled background information or general background information about the RCC. Under this tab, you'll be able to find basic company information, such as when the RCC was founded, by who. You'll be able to find our official mission statement and vision statement. You'll be able to find contact information, and basic government information, like what is our federal tax ID, what is our 501 C3 status. You'll find all that information under the background information tab. You'll also be able to find basic information about each of the departments in the RCC and what kind of services they provide. It's important to know this information because a lot of the grants that we apply to ask about the specific services that we provide and the specific departments, what each department does, and how they work. So you'll be able to find all that information in this tab. In the second tab, it's labeled Grant Writing 101. This is kind of a Q&A setup of basic questions you might have about the grant writing process, also basic questions that we as volunteers have seen. You'll have questions from what is a grant? What does grant writing consist of? What is a grant writer? Basic questions like that. You'll be able to find it here. This is the tab, as you can see the little blurb, don't be scared of grant writing, that hopefully will alleviate some of the stress you might feel and will help you understand that through learning and doing, this whole process will begin to seem a lot less intimidating. In the vocabulary and terms tab, you'll find really basic vocab, kind of like a glossary for all kinds of terms that you'll see. One, in general, working for a nonprofit organization like the RCC, and specific vocabulary terms you'll find working for the San Fernando Valley Refugee Children's Center. So, you'll be able to find a basic definition. What is a nonprofit organization? What is an EIN? What is a DBA? You'll find the definition to those, to all of those words, as well as the Spanish translation to them. So for a nonprofit organization, you'll have the definition of nonprofit organization, as well as the Spanish translation, being like un organización sin lucro, or like sin fines de lucro. In the next tab, you'll find grant writing examples. So we've actually uploaded a couple different actual real life grants that the RCC has applied to in recent years. We have, several copy and pasted the question that was on the grant and the way that the specific grant writer for the RCC answered it. This was extremely helpful to Jasmine and I when we were starting out our grant writing. It helps a lot to go back and see what, professionals and what, the administrative department, how they were answering questions, what kind of language they used, how much detail they went into. You'll be able to find specific examples of questions that they answered. You'll also find an example of a letter of interest. You're going to want to familiarize yourself with LOIs, as several organizations that provide grants that we apply to require LOIs. You'll be able to find an example of a letter of interest in this tab. Another tab is the grant writing tips. This one is kind of just a fun list of tips that Jasmine and I both put together, things that we learned throughout the process that we thought helped us and that we think would be helpful to someone like us who was starting out the process. So we've got one tab that is the 10 grant writing tips that are specifically tailored to the RCC. They go from as general to, don't be afraid to ask for questions from the administrative department, all the way to, know the specific deadlines to each grant, just little tips that we found really helpful that we think that you might find helpful as well. We also have links. So on another document under the same tab, we have live links to resources for grant writing for nonprofit organizations. We hope that this resource has created a feeling of security for you. We hope that it made grant writing as a whole a little bit less scary, because we were in the same position as you. And so we think that this drive will be really helpful when you start out. Thank you so much for listening to this presentation. If you have any questions, email us, or you can email the administrative department or contact Jasmine or I, or anyone who, might be supervising you. Right now, it's Frida Aldapa for us. For you, it might be different. But thank you so much, guys, and good luck.